Nevada, like right before Labor Day. And we did a hike. And that was like super hard for her. And I was like, I could have literally run this 3 times in the time it took us to do it once. But I love that she's getting out there. It's so amazing. So,
you guys ready?
Baby steps.
Do the Trenni, just do the Kinsmans.
Done them already.
Yeah.
All right, guys. Little technical difficulties. So we had to come over to YouTube. JD's hopefully telling everybody that right now. Facebook is trying to keep us off again. Mark Zuckerberg, dude, trying to hold us down. So welcome everybody to the other side of the glass. It's I was going to say Facebook Live series, but the YouTube Live series tonight by us, the Just Add Bourbon podcast. I'm Jimmy Don Kerr.
I'm Brad Broaddus.
I'm JD Dameron.
I'm Eric Beaudry.
All right, guys. And tonight we have a very special guest all
Jimmy,
the way.
Do you want me just to say my last name? Because I get such a mouthful.
No. Look, Trini's got a different last name, and I told her before we came on, for all you,
Polish.
For all you fellow hillbillies, there's a reason that our last names are simple, like Smith and Kerr and Fletcher and Jude. There's a reason, because our dialect does not go well with these Polish last names. So I'm going to give this a shot.
Okay.
Tonight's guest is Trenni Kusnierek.
Close, Kusnierek, but very
Kusnierek.
Good job, Jimmy D.
Trenni Kusnierek, I'm trying. She is an Emmy Award winner who currently hosts NBC Sports Boston Early Edition and a 20-year veteran sports reporter. Trenni, thank you for coming on.
Yeah, you got it. Thanks for having me.
So, Trenni, we always kind of start these interviews out with just a little background. So just tell us a little bit about yourself.
So I live in Boston, but I am not a born and raised Bostonian. I moved here 8 years ago to take a job with NBC Sports Boston. I'm originally from Wisconsin, which I found out right away. People hate because of the Badgers beating Kentucky, but don't blame me. I didn't go to Wisconsin. I went to Marquette. So I'm a Marquette grad who majored in broadcast journalism and English and just always loved sports. I wanted to be the next Jane Pauley when I was a little kid because we didn't have ESPN at the house because my Catholic father did not believe in allowing us to have cable. So I didn't know that I could be a sports reporter until I got to college. And when I got there, a friend of mine was like, hey, you know so much about sports and you love it. You should be a sports reporter. They let girls do that now. And I was like, God, that's a really good idea. I think I'm going to try it. I did. And 20 years on February 1st later, here I am still doing sports. And they're not telling me to cut my hair anymore. In the beginning of my career, they told me I had to cut my hair short so I'd be taken seriously.
So did you play sports when you were younger, or did you always know that sports was that an interest for you?
Well, did I play sports? Kind of. Did I do it well? No. Yeah. I am I'm not uncoordinated. I was captain of my pom-pom squad in high school. That's my big athletic accomplishment. Up until I was older. I did like softball. I swam when I was a kid. I tried gymnastics, but I wasn't good at any of them. Like I would play third base in softball and there would be like a bouncing grounder and I'd be like, oh, it's going to hit me in the face. Like I just don't have hand-eye coordination. I'm going to be totally honest. But as I've gotten older, I've realized I'm actually a pretty good distance athlete. So I run marathons and like Eric, which is how we connected, I love to hike. So like Eric, I'm also trying to do the 4,000 peaks in the mountains. And so I am athletic, but I wouldn't say I wasn't exactly like the star of my high school basketball team or my volleyball team or soccer. Track. I cheered everyone on and decorated lockers for homecoming.
Woo-hoo. That's what my girls do. My oldest, I'm just going to ask this because I was down there tonight. Is soccer a big thing in the north, or is it too cold? I don't know.
Oh yeah. It's huge up here. Yeah.
So that's something that's fairly new here. And I didn't even really know that I like soccer until my daughter started playing. And it's awesome.
It's Jimmy, I hear it's a beautiful game.
It is. It is a beautiful game. It is fantastic. It's rough. it's just more physical than I imagined. And I have a ball watching them play. And I mean, I've watched like U.S. soccer, U.S. women's soccer. I actually like watching it better than I do the men's team. But I don't know. It's a great game. I was just wondering, do you cover that at all in what you do?
So the New England Revolution are actually on our air. We broadcast their games. It's, they're certainly the fifth team of the 4 pro sports we have here, but they're gaining in popularity. There's been a huge push to get a stadium downtown. I mean, it's still, listen, soccer is still way below football, basketball, baseball, and hockey. But in a pretty transient melting pot, like a city like Boston, where we have a lot of people from all over the world that come here to live and work, I think it's more popular than some other places, just because of that kind of population. I mean, soccer is it's football everywhere else for one. It is the most popular sport in the world. It just isn't the most popular sport in the United States. So I think, with like a more transient population in those cities, it's a little more popular than others, which is why they really are like trying to push to get the stadium downtown. Cause it's like young people are really into soccer. And again, like, immigrants and like transplants from other places. I will say this though, like Premier League soccer in Boston is huge. Like if you go to a bar, well, I mean, you can't anymore because you can't go to bars in Massachusetts right now. But when you can go back to a bar and watch sporting events, I actually went to the Chelsea bar in Boston it's actually in Dorchester, is the same one as the Packers bar. And it was packed one morning it gets packed every Saturday or Sunday when they play on weekends for matches. So yeah, it's big. Like soccer is pretty big here, I think.
So I just got to tell
what is your,
hold on. I'm sorry. Like, because I got to tell a story. I'm so excited. I am going to a bar this weekend.
Oh, I'm so jealous.
The comedy club in Lexington, Kentucky is opening back up. And one of my favorite comedians is coming up, and I'm going to check it. I can't wait to get back in the bar. Have some beers.
It'll be a while before we get to go here.
Go ahead, Brad.
so what is your favorite sport to cover?
This will probably be kind of surprising, but I love baseball. Like I love baseball. I grew up a huge Milwaukee Brewers fan. I'm sure by the time, I hear like post this tomorrow or link to it, they will have been eliminated in the postseason by the Los Angeles Dodgers. They play at 10 Eastern tonight. But like for me, when I was a kid growing up, my dad and I used to go to games all the time. And I mean, that's where my love of sports comes from. It comes from my family, right? Like my mom is super into sports. My dad always was. Like we were really into the Brewers and the Packers and the Badgers growing up and Marquette basketball. I'm no longer into the Badgers, but the other 3 I still love with all of my heart and soul. And so I kind of, for whatever reason in my career, it just sort of fell the way that like my first kind of big job was in Pittsburgh, working for Fox Sports Net in Pittsburgh, which is now like AT&T Sportsnet, I think. And my assigned position was to be the pregame, postgame, and in-game reporter. I almost said the Bruins, for the Pittsburgh Penguins and the Milwaukee Brewers, the Pittsburgh Pirates. And so from there, I was there for 5 years. And then I came cover the Brewers for a year back in Milwaukee. Then I went and worked for MLB Network for 2 years. So for 8 years, like really formative years of my career, I was around baseball like nonstop. And so I don't know. I know it's a slow game, but I love going to the ballpark and like getting a beer and a hot dog or nachos or a pretzel. I clearly like to eat a lot when I'm at a game. There's just something like social about it. You can go, you can have a conversation, you can still see the action on the field. I think it's the best sport in person. Like it's not a great TV sport, but in person, the whole ambiance of being at the ballpark is awesome.
Yeah, it really is.
Football is having grown up in Wisconsin, like football is a definite close second.
Miller
remember,
Park is a great place to watch a ball game.
Miller Park is a great place to watch.
I'm not a Brewers fan, but I went and watched some games, and it was a great place. The atmosphere was awesome, tailgating outside before the games. And then when you would get up to like go to the concession stand and you could hear Bob Uecker announcing the game, which was awesome.
And it's like totally different experience, right? Like you go to a ball game at Fenway Park and you take the T, which is our subway, and you get off and you walk and it is a cool, don't get me wrong, I love Fenway and I love that there's like, it's Lansdowne Street and now Jersey Street. is what it's called. And they close those off and they're like vendors, but it's not the same. Like Miller Park is like going to a college football game. So you go to the parking lot, like parking lots open 3-4 hours early. People set up huge tailgating. My dad used to have tailgates from the time like before I was born. I have this amazing picture of my parents in like 1975, 76. It was before I was born, like right before I was born. And like, it was the first huge tailgate my dad had. And it's just all these, like everybody's in like 70s attire, like short shorts and tank tops. And they've got like great mustaches and they're drinking beer and having this great time. And it's like my young parents. But those tailgates, my dad continued them on for years at Miller Park to where they grew to like 150 people, like where my dad would start using them for like fundraisers for the local food bank. Like people really get into it, which I think is a totally different experience. Again, than if you like go to stinky toilet Wrigley Fields.
Shots fired.
So that's how I feel with the Cubs. I also, I really, really hate the Cardinals. So if you're a Cardinals fan, I'm sorry. I hate that.
No, my team went down today. The Reds got beat. I said that game yesterday, 0-0, 13 innings, took 5 hours to play. Then
it was a great game, though.
Oh, it was a great game. I said, and we had more than one chance to score and win that game. And then today, went down 5-0. So I guess we're out, and the Braves will roll on.
So speaking of the Cardinals, Trenni, you mentioned your hate for the Cardinals. You might have been a little too young to remember, but the 1982 World Series.
Oh, no, that's why I hate them. I hate them from 1982. From the time I was a child, I cried for days. I was inconsolable because that dirty team from Missouri beat my Brewers in 7 games. Like my dad said, he was like, they had to be like, Trenni, it's just a game. Like it's going to be okay. And I was like, but my team lost. That is why. Oh, I remember, Eric. It's my first vivid sports memory.
It was such a good World Series. I mean, like Raleigh Fingers. Sure. Ted Simmons, Paul Molitor.
Did you not hear a story, bro?
Yeah, did you not hear any of that, Eric?
Just not talking about it. That I like cried my eyes. It was a great World Series, and it was great, like leading up for them to get there. I mean, there are only like bits and pieces. There's only 5, so there are only little things I remember about it. But like, I remember when they advanced to the World Series. I think they were playing the Orioles. And like I like banged pots and pans on like my grandma had this like little porch off the top part of her duplex. Like I remember like seeing the bunting at the ballpark. But the other thing I remember, and this is so Wisconsin, because like up until the Packers winning again in the mid 1990s, we won nothing. They threw a parade for the team when they lost. So I remember
we did that in Boston.
I know. But now you guys win everything, so you don't need parades for that. So, but I remember being on like my dad's shoulders, and like I loved Raleigh Fingers. Oh my God, I love Raleigh Fingers. I had like a little kid crush on him.
So you talked about working like in Pittsburgh for the Pirates, but you never was like, but you grew up a Brewers fan. So what is that like? Like to cover a team that you really like ho-hum about, maybe that, your team is in Milwaukee, but you're here in Pittsburgh. Well, so what is that like?
Fun story, Jason. This was early in my career before I knew all of the social decorums you should have, professional decorums you should have. So it must have been like a year or two into me covering. And like when I say cover the Pirates, like I traveled with the team, stayed in team hotels, like went to spring training for like 6 whole weeks. Like I was in it with this team. I really liked the guys and I wanted them to do well, except for when they played the Brewers. Well, when I went home, I wanted to take my 3 cousins to the game. They're huge Brewers fans. I got the tickets from the Brewers, so I didn't think anything of it. I put on a Brewers jersey. We weren't broadcasting the game that night. Do you know where my tickets were? 4 rows up from the Pirates dugout. Like they were, can I say pissed?
Yeah, you say whatever you want to say.
You can say pissed.
They were not like, I got like a talking to from like the PR guy, like players were mad. Like, thankfully I like they forgave me and I apologized and was like, that was super unprofessional. I shouldn't have done it. Like, I think they also gave me like, they, gave me the benefit of the doubt because I was only like 26 years old. But like looking back, it was one of the more horrifying moments of my career. Like now, if a kid did that, I would be like, what are you thinking? How could you be so dumb? And then I'd be like, no, I was that dumb. I just didn't even think for a second I would be anywhere near where players on our team could see us. I thought I would be over on the Brewers side, like no one would ever see me. Nope, right there. And I was like,
Listen,
oh my God.
let me explain something to you. If I was a reporter and I worked at Duke and they sent me right beside Coach K on the bench, I would have a Kentucky jersey on, and I would tell them to deal with it.
That makes me feel better. But it was hard because I always, and everybody knew, like, I mean, as you can see, like, I love the Brewers more than even more than the Packers. Like, I love the Packers, don't get me wrong. And I hope they win another Super Bowl. I think Aaron Rodgers is having like a Tom Brady after they drafted Jimmy Garoppolo kind of season. But like the Brewers winning the World Series, which I hope happens in my lifetime, would probably be the happiest I would ever be as a sports fan.
So I just experienced this myself. So it was very nice. I've been a Chiefs fan for 20 plus.
Oh, that's exciting. I like the Chiefs. I like Andy Reid.
So Steve DeBerg was the quarterback when I started liking the Chiefs. So that's how long I've liked the Chiefs.
Yeah.
Back in the 80s, And so I've been through.
So wait, why did you pick the Chiefs?
Okay. Do you remember Christian Okoye?
I remember the
Nigerian
name.
Nightmare. Anyway, Steve DeBerg was the quarterback, and he was handing the ball off like 30 times a game. Well, I was like, man, I hate these sissy quarterbacks in the NFL. But he played with a pin sticking out of his finger. And because his hand was like his finger was broke, but he played with a pin sticking out of his finger. And he was handing the ball off like 30 times a game. And this finger looked like hamburger meat after his games. But he would not, be sidelined. He just kept playing and playing. And I thought, man, that guy's tough. That was gonna be my squad right there. And that's when I started liking the Chiefs.
All right. That's fair.
Yeah.
Gruesome, but fair.
And then Derek Thomas came along and Neil Smith, and the rest was history. Joe Montana finally came to Kansas City.
Yeah, the Chiefs are good.
Patrick Mahomes.
Our huge discussion on our show tonight was, are they the next dynasty?
Yes, absolutely. Patrick Mahomes is better than everybody. I mean,
look, they laid a whooping on the Ravens the other night, and I didn't think that would happen. I mean, they really beat the Ravens up.
Yeah.
Yeah,
they're good.
I mean, Lamar Jackson sort of soiled himself, but I think like happens a lot with him. Like he's got to get it right up here. He's got the talent, but when he's on like the biggest stage, it's just he falls apart. Where Patrick Mahomes is the exact opposite. Like he's on the biggest stage, it's like, give me the ball.
Yeah,
I'll march us down the field. Let's do it.
So, kind of what's it like? I mean, to me, like covering a baseball team, like to cover the Pirates or even the Brewers, or like for us would be the Reds. Is it like that would be my dream job? Like I would believe that would be my dream job. Is it really that, or is it like any other job and it's just a grind?
It's like, I mean, it is like at times it's like any other job and it's a grind. Like I think people look at what we do and they're like, oh, your job is so cool. You get to go watch baseball. But I'm not going and sitting in the stands and having a beer and like chilling out and talking to my friends. I get to the ballpark, like to give you an idea of what my day was like when I was a team reporter, I was at the ballpark by between 2:30 and 3 in the afternoon for a 7 or 7:05 start. You go, you get your stuff set up, you get your notes, you like look through everything, you get your lineups, then you go into the clubhouse, you have to try to get interviews. And like a lot of it is standing around and just trying to like coax guys to come talk to you, which is at times like, you're like, oh my God, just do it. It's not that hard. And then you've got to get the interviews and you have to like sit down and transcribe them and kind of get everything ready for like, for me, it would have been a pregame show. So you come out, you do, let's say 3 live hits in a pregame show. You also have to prepare all of your in-game hits. Like I didn't have a producer writing in-game hits for me. It was like, Trenni, what do you have today? What are your storylines? What did guys tell you in the clubhouse? What do you got? So-and-so hasn't been feeling well. Did you talk to him? Is he feeling better? What did they say about what did the manager say or the pitching coach say about, why a guy is struggling, on the mound? Why is a guy struggling at the plate? And by the way, go talk to a guy about why he's struggling, because that's really what he wants to talk to you about. And so you do all of that, and then you do the game and you do all your in-game hits, and then the game ends. And if your home team wins, you got to go and then you do a post-game interview. And again, they're not giving you questions it's just off the top of your head. You have to know and understand the game. So then you do your questions. And then when that's done, you go back into the clubhouse and you get more sound and you come out and you do more hits for the post-game show with some post-game sound. And then when you're done, like you go home. But most nights you don't leave the ballpark until, if you're lucky, I mean, and the game goes like fast. You're looking at 10:30, 11. I mean, there are nights when, you know, you don't get home till midnight or something, and you left your house at 2:00. And then when you're on the road, like, you know, it is nice to fly. Like with the Brewers, I flew on their team charter, but you know, sometimes you're gone with the team, you know, you're gone 10, 12 days. You come home, you land at 3 a.m. You go home, you go to sleep, you sleep for a few hours, you get up, you shower, maybe you work out, and then you've got to be back. I mean, with baseball, it's like constant, unless you have an off day. If you have another series that starts, then you're back at the ballpark. It's not like they're like, oh, don't worry about it, just show up at 5:30. No, you got to be back at the ballpark at 3:00. So it can be, I mean, there are aspects of it that I miss. I mean, there's something energizing about being at the ballpark and being around all those people. And I'm like a curious person by nature. So to ask all those questions and sort of be in the thick of things. But I mean, I'd be lying if I said like one of the best parts about the job that I do now is I'm in studio. It's Monday through Friday. Like it's a pretty set schedule. I mean, I'm not done with work till 7:30 Eastern. And you kind of work on and off all day, but it's a much more like, it's much more structured. Like I have a structured workout schedule. I can see my friends. I can say to them, hey, I know I can't do dinner at 7 because you do it at 7:45. And you know, if we meet close to my house, I can walk out the door and meet you for dinner. Which just makes like life a lot easier. Like it was hard, like living in Pittsburgh and only being 25 when I moved there and not knowing a single person. And then you're on the road. Like my first couple of years there, when I traveled with the Penguins and the Pirates, I would do 200 plus events a year. So sometimes I'd be on the road 220 days a year, not 220 days a year, but like working 220 days a year. And so let's say more than half of that was on the road. I mean, that's a lot. Like it's hard to make a life. Like people are always like, why aren't you married? I was like, oh yeah, cool. Cause I spent my entire 20s and early 30s, like on a charter with a bunch of millionaire dudes that I wouldn't ever like date or marry. No offense. I'm sure you're lovely, but it's not professional. So no, I kind of wasted my best years.
So that brings to an interesting question, Trenni, because, you know, the past several months you've been doing the shows from home. What's that been like?
Well, you're sort of looking at, I did take my set down because I wanted to eat dinner, but like, this is sort of what you look at when I'm on television. It's more like that. It's a little bit,
different angle,
but same sort of look. So everybody gets a peek into my apartment, which when I first started, one of my producers texted me and was like, do you have a Jesus pillow on your bed? And I was like, no, that's Keanu Reeves. A friend of mine knows that I love Keanu Reeves. She got me this fun, like, sequenced pillowcase, and I put my pillow in it. My boyfriend now, the first time he ever came over, he was like, why do you have a pillowcase of Keanu Reeves? And I was like, because I love Keanu. And if you don't like that, then you can't like me.
Listen, I'm thinking about getting a pillowcase for Keanu Reeves now. You know what I'm saying?
I love Keanu Reeves. He's so cute.
I know that was a thing.
I have like this, I mean, you know, like I'm an 80s kid. Like I grew up like Bill and Ted and stuff. And so, and I just think he's like this quiet, mysterious like guy.
He's a cool guy, it seems like.
Oh, he's the baddest man on the planet. John Wick is the baddest man on the planet.
Exactly. Like I sort of like reignited my love for him when I started watching John Wick movies. I was like, this guy is a badass. I love you.
Me too. I saw John Wick and I was like, God, that is Keanu, man. That is the stuff.
Can't act with a lick, right? Like, let's be honest. Like, I mean, the guy doesn't seem like he's the brightest bulb in the box, but nice to look at and a good action star. So it is weird to have people like look into your home every night. The positive of it is that like, you know, I go for walks in the afternoon. I hope my bosses aren't watching this. Sometimes I take a nap if I'm tired from like a workout in the morning, but I really genuinely do miss like the camaraderie and the collaboration of being in a studio, at an office. I mean, I'm ready. Like the other day I had like kind of a meltdown. My mic wasn't working. And so I had to switch a battery. I had to like dig for these batteries, and they're like these little disc batteries, and you've got to like take a knife, like a butter knife, and push something down. Yep. And then the battery popped out and it slid under my couch. And my apartment, by the way, if any of you have been to the East Coast, like, and you live in the city, like my apartment's like a shoebox. But when I moved here from Milwaukee, I was like, this is it. Like, where does all my stuff go? And I was like, I guess I'm giving it away. So then I had to like move something, and I moved an ottoman to get underneath my couch. And then my light fell over, and I was like, I just swore. I was like, I am bleeping sick of this. I'm bleeping tired of working from home. I just want to come back to the studio. That meltdown was like a week and a half ago. So like, I'm ready to get back.
Are you still in the North End, Trenni?
I am. Yeah. which is an amazing, for those of you who aren't familiar with Boston, the North End is like this Italian, amazing, like it seems like Italy now because we can only really have outdoor dining and like minimal indoor. So like there's these unbelievable like umbrella tables everywhere and everyone's like out sipping cappuccino and wine all day long. So it's a lovely place to live. It's just real estate is tiny because everything was made in like the street I live on is like super historic. Like everything on it was built like in the 1800s, 1800s. So
My wife always said if she had moved to the North End, she'd weigh about 300 pounds.
You think that, but like you can't eat Italian food every single day. You also can't afford to eat out Italian food every day.
Yeah.
And so like anything, it just becomes like one of my favorite places in the whole neighborhood is China House. I swear to God. I love it. It's had the best, cheapest Chinese food. It's so good. It's takeout only. It's like takeout only, cash only. It's amazing.
So you went to school in Wisconsin, you went to school in Marquette after that. So how did you get to Boston? Like, how long have you been in Boston? I guess is the question.
8 years. So long story short, I was like, it kind of worked back and forth. Like I would leave Milwaukee and then come back and leave and come back. Now my most recent trip back, which was from 2010, end of 2010 through like mid 2012, like 18 months I was working there. My agent just called and said, hey, I know that you love being home and you're close to your sister and your niece and your family. He said, but Boston called and they have a couple positions open at their regional there. And they're really interested in you. Would you want to audition? And literally in my head, this is like how messed up it is being like a woman in television sports. I was like, well, I am 35 and I don't know how much longer like people are going to want to interview me because they just might want to go with someone younger. I said, I might as well just go audition and interview and like see what it's all about. I've always really liked Boston. At the very least, it's a free trip to Boston. And I came out here and I interviewed and auditioned and like, I immediately loved it. It sounds super cheesy. This is so cheesy, but like I knew that this was a place that I was going to live. Like I remember driving home for my second audition and when they brought me in to meet with the general manager and I thought to myself, I feel like I'm driving home. Like it felt right. It felt natural. And then they didn't offer me the job. Like I knew I had it. Like I knew if they brought me in for that second round that I got the job, but they didn't offer it to me for maybe 4 or 5 weeks after that. And I was like, oh, I guess that's not my home. And then they called one day and I was on vacation with my family. And I was like, and they're like, could you get here like kind of quickly? And I was like, oh, this is so typical television, like being able to watch my vacation with my family. But they made me the offer and it was like, it's been an incredible move. I love it here so much.
So I'd like to ask you a little bit about, you said you grew up watching Jane Pauley, you didn't get to watch ESPN and all these women, the strong women that was on that channel. Like, what has it been like being a woman in the sports world, and trying to make a name for yourself, traveling around with all these men all the time? Like, yeah. So
it's not easy. And it's funny because if you think about it, I've been in this industry for 20 years. And anytime I do any sort of interview, like with someone who hasn't talked to me before, it is still a question I get asked. Like, think about that. 20 years later, it's still sort of this topic where people know that it's not easy, that it's like, it just comes with its own set of challenges. I mean, it's easier now for me. I'm going to be candid. Like I'm 43. I could have birthed some of these athletes at this point. So it's not like back in the day, like when I was younger, I mean, it was, not to be like I had to turn a bunch of dudes down, but I had to turn a bunch of dudes down because they would call, they'd slip you your number, or they'd chase you out of the clubhouse or the locker room, or, they would try to like feed you drinks and then try, be like, oh, we're just gonna have like an after party. And I was like, no, I didn't roll off the turnip truck. Like I got it. I was raised by 2 strong parents. I know where you're going with this. Guys calling my room on the road, like, and then not talking to me if I said no. Now it's not as I think like anything as you establish yourself in any industry, I think that you just gain and earn respect, but it's always harder to earn respect for women. I've never seen what happened to Maria Taylor. I don't know how familiar you are with what happened to Maria Taylor when she was on Monday Night Football. She is she used to host College Game Day. I don't think she does anymore because now she's doing NBA Live. Or NBA, like the pre and post game show for ESPN, but she also did sidelines for Monday Night Football. And there was a radio host in Chicago who tweeted out like something about her basically being dressed, saying that she was dressed for the AVN Awards, which I guess is like a pornography thing. So he basically said she looked like a porn star. And he ended up getting fired from his job, but like that would never happen to a guy, and the fact that like when women, if they gain weight or lose weight or change their hair color, like, or the first argument for a woman in sports, if she makes one mistake is, oh, she's dumb. She's just there because she's pretty. She didn't earn her job. She's just eye candy. And are there women like that in the industry? Absolutely. 100% there are women in the industry who don't know that much about sports and are just there because they're really, really pretty. And some executive was like, oh, you can read a prompter and you're hot. Let's put you on television. I'm not going to pretend that doesn't exist. But by and large, most of the women I know in this industry like work their butt off and know a ton and work extra hard to make sure that they don't make mistakes and then beat themselves up when they do make a mistake because they're so afraid that will like automatically like crush their credibility.
Really sort of marred the dish.
So what was your degree in actually, like when you graduated from Marquette? What was
broadcast and electronic communications, like broadcast journalism, and then I minored in English. So I am super screwed if this doesn't work out. I don't know what I would do. Everyone's like, would you ever get out of the business? And I was like, people now are like, you've always wanted to live abroad. Like, don't you want to move to another country? It was like, yeah, and do what? Like, I don't know if my skills translate.
I think it's going to work out for you, girl. I think you're all right.
No, like, I think I'm like, it's this, or I move home with my mom and dad into my basement.
So you covered the Olympics, right?
Yes, I've done 3 Olympics. I did Sochi, Rio, and Pyeongchang. And in Sochi and Pyeongchang, I was the curling reporter. And in Rio, I was the tennis reporter. And I was going to be the tennis reporter again in Japan. And hopefully we have Olympics. Oh, that was not me flipping you off, by the way. It was me crossing my fingers. That really looked terrible.
You were getting ready to get double barreled by me. It's fine, but go ahead.
No, I mean, I'm disappointed. I'm disappointed you wasn't flipping this off.
So I should hopefully go to Japan to be the tennis reporter again. That is like, Olympics is so cool. It's the best thing I've ever done in my career.
I'm super envious of you. Like curling is my jam.
Curling, dude. That's what I was. That was
what?
Yeah, like I know nothing about it. When it was on the last time, the Olympics were around, I couldn't get enough of it. I watched curling hours on end, and I was like, "Oh, John's got to sink this thing. Come on, go!"
I love that you're rooting for John Schuster. They're sides too. They're so cool, and I don't think like this is a secret. I think they posted pictures, so I'll just tell this story. Otherwise, I guess I'm calling them out. So after they won gold, they went into their locker rooms, and the 2 teams that played each other had beers and hung out after. Like they had beers for like I was waiting for them to come out because like they had to do, of course, when you win gold at the Olympics, like do the Today Show. But I just wanted to say congratulations because I got to know them pretty well and wanted to take a picture with them with all their gold medals on. And I was like waiting. I was like, where are they? And their PR person was like, they're having some cocktails and they're having some brews with the I forget who they beat. Did they beat Sweden?
Yeah,
that sounds right to me.
I think they beat Sweden. They're like, them and the Swedes are just like getting a little tipsy.
I was mesmerized. I was getting updates like who was moving on, like
oh, it's great. It's like
those guys were
a
amazing,
fascinating game. It's like, and it's if you ever curled? Do you have curling clubs with you guys?
No, not at all.
Okay, so when you have a chance, you have to. It is so much harder than you think it is.
Oh, I would do it.
Like you need balance, you need flexibility, you need strength, but you also need touch. Like I was like, okay, how hard? Like, I'm like, it'll kind of be hard because you have to have like you're sliding on ice and stuff. But I was like, how hard can it be to throw the rock? Like, I bet that thing will go flying. Mine didn't get to like the kids circle.
Yeah.
Like I was like, it's heavy, it's hard. You have to really push it, but you also have to like flick of your wrist, turn it. And then the touch that you have to make sure it gets exactly where you want it to go. Like people laugh and make fun of them because they don't look like they're super well, like, constructed athletes.
Right. They're like bowling stars.
Yeah. They're like dudes true story. They're from Minnesota and Wisconsin. That's where almost all of them are from.
Sure.
So they're just like Midwestern dudes who like to drink beer and hang out and curl, but it's really hard. Like you can't just, let's put it this way. None of us could just go out and make the Olympic curling team. Like you have to be really talented and really good at that sport.
as I started watching, I was just taken aback by how much strategy was involved.
Oh yeah.
I was like, wow, this is like, so that really caught me off guard. But I really enjoyed it. I got into it like way too much, probably.
I did too, JD. It's one of my favorite Olympic sports. Like
I love this.
Oh yeah, it's one of my favorites, man. I love it. That's why I asked when I knew that you covered curling. I was like, dude, that has to be awesome.
Oh, it is. I will say the days are long. So like, I'm always jealous of short track speed skating. We have what we call dark days on Olympics, which means your event isn't happening that day. So you just like get the day to go do whatever you want in this like cool foreign country. There are no dark days in curling. And like, I'm talking 18-hour days. There are days when I would get up in the morning and go like into hair and makeup, and it would be like 6:30 or 7 in the morning, like local time. I wouldn't leave until 11 o'clock at night. Like people think it's like, oh, you're going to the Olympics. You're like hanging out like that hotel. Like, you look sick. And I was like, yeah, like, oh, the sunrise pictures are beautiful. I'm like, yeah, that's all I get to see is the sunrise. And then I come home and I completely collapse. Now I'm old. So it's like, I'm tired, you know, like I can't, it's not like going to the Olympics. Like maybe if I would have been in my 20s and I would just like plow through on 4 hours of sleep. I need like 9 hours of sleep to function.
You kids get off my lawn. I'm just kidding.
I'm so get off my lawn. Like all the guys who like live across me, they're actually pretty quiet, but like sometimes like I can hear their party and I'm like, that noise better be turned down by the time I am ready for bed, because I'm going to read. And if I have to close my windows.
Jeopardy's coming on in 20 minutes.
Jason, you laugh, but while I was eating dinner tonight, I was watching Jeopardy and I PVR it. I love Jeopardy.
Jeopardy is my absolute jam. Not kidding at all. Like, I watch Jeopardy on Netflix. That's how bad off I am.
Oh, I'm not. I don't go that far, but I should. Did you watch like this summer? They had like super old ones.
Yes, I did.
Yeah.
Alex Trebek is I love that dude. He's awesome.
I know. I'm so glad that he's healthy and like working this year with the cancer and the COVID.
Yeah, absolutely. But yeah, I can get enough Jeopardy.
Eric's like, who would have known that we were going to find out? Anything else you guys want to know about my life?
I'm sorry. I took this conversation completely off the rails.
No, it's fine. Those are the best conversations.
Yeah, but one of the things
you go to
that
the bar and you think you're just going to have one and you don't get home till 4 a.m.
Listen, Brad's got his hand raised. Everybody pay attention. He's been trying to ask a question for the last 10 minutes. I know.
You're so
Go ahead, Brad.
I get abused. So when we started this podcast, we would record and we would put it on iTunes. So, you know, we had the luxury of being able to stop and edit if we said something stupid, right? So we know once it goes live, it completely changes the game. So I'm just curious, was there a time maybe early in your career when you went live and something went terribly wrong where you had to make a huge adjustment on the fly?
Oh, that's a great question.
It is a good question.
Oh man, I'm trying to think if anything's ever gone like really terribly wrong. I mean, obviously not, because it's not coming to mind. Like that would be like a horrifying experience for something to go horribly, horribly wrong. I don't even know if I've come close to swearing on air, but I've caught myself. I mean, I've definitely been like real hungover on air before. One time when I was real young, I was only like probably 23 when the All-Star game was in Milwaukee, and I had gone, speaking of like when fun events are happening and you can go out and party and then get up and do your job. I had stayed out at this party until like 3 a.m. and then I had to do the morning show. I had to go to Miller Park and like do an interview, and I'm pretty sure I was still drunk when I did it. But even then, I somehow kept it together. Like the worst thing that's ever happened to me in my career, again, here I am just like spilling everything. It didn't happen live on television, but it did happen in a public place. So being from the Midwest, I'm traveling with the Steelers, living in Pittsburgh, and I go back to, the Steelers played the Minnesota Vikings. And for some reason, like I had a whole bunch of friends that were in town in Minneapolis, and then people in Pittsburgh, they're like, let's all go out and party. This will be so fun. And I don't know what I drank or how many shots I did, but I was like out of it, like completely like way drank, to the point where I woke up the next morning with all the lights on in my hotel room at the Marriott, fully clothed on top of my hotel room bed, and then like sniffed the air and was like, it smells like puke in here. And I'm like, oh, I barfed in my garbage can last night. Classy, Trenni. Put the garbage can outside, get in the shower. I do my live shot. Everything goes fine. Don't have any screw ups on air. we're like in the press box and there's a TV timeout. And I'm like, I'm just going to put my head down for like a second during this TV timeout. I fell asleep in the press box, which is open. The big Viking guy came and blew that like thing in my face. The Steelers PR guy was like, someone wake her up. Like, and he was like, what are you doing? He's like, you're going to get your press pass revoked. And I was like, sorry, I'm just really, and he's like, you still smell like liquor. And I was like, I know, I'm sorry. So that's like the worst thing that's ever happened to me, where I was like, ooh, this could be like job loss territory, but here I am.
I think I heard you swear a couple of times almost on WEEI.
Well, I mean, that often pushed me to my limits.
Right.
The topics of conversation and the buttons pushed.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I've come close. We had a guy come close yesterday, DJ Bean, like almost said the S word. And I was like, ooh, DJ, this is not the late night show. You don't get to do this at 6:30 in the evening here. But yeah, I've never had, knock on wood, which my fake wood of my like laptop thing here. I haven't had any like major disasters on air. Now I'm going to totally have one, by the way, Brad. Now that you asked me that, tomorrow is going to be an absolute bleep show.
I just want to say, people have said shit on this show, but nobody's ever said the S word.
Yeah, that's the first S word.
I don't know what's like, I don't know. I don't know what people's tolerance are. Like, I do NPR up here. I'm on a show called Boston Public Radio with Jim and Marjorie.
Yep.
And like, there's like things you definitely cannot, like, what were we? Oh, we were talking about the Robert Kraft prostitution ring. And I was talking about how, I was trying to articulate that oftentimes these women are victims, but people from the outside looking in just see them. And I was going to say, they just look at them and see them as like sluts or whores. And I was like, and they see them as, and I was like, I don't know what an NPR appropriate word is for this. So I'm just going to let you guys use your imagination, because I don't want to get anybody in trouble.
Well, Jim and Marjorie was what prompted me to reach out to you, because you were talking about the Olympics and the fact that the Olympics were delayed and people were preparing their bodies to peak and stuff like that. So that's what actually got my ears going.
Loyal listener to Jim and Marjorie. They're lovely.
Oh, they're great.
I have a random question, and Trenni or Eric can answer this, but I've wondered this. Since Tom Brady left and went to Tampa, do the people of New England hate Tom Brady now, or does 6 rings get you a pass?
Eric, what's your experience been like? I'll wait for mine.
Sort of a mix between like a pass and indifference. I'm kind of like, all right, well, they won 6 championships. It is what it is. That's kind of it.
So I am surprised that a lot of people are like that, where I thought everybody would be like at 1:00 a Patriots fan, and at 4:25 they would be a Brady fan. But like my boyfriend, for instance, like he's like, I don't know where this is coming from, but every time Tom Brady touches the ball, my inner thought is pick six. And I was like, so angry. Like, you're not an angry person. I feel like there is a set of people here who feel like they were like jilted at the altar. Like you were not jilted at the altar because it was too long of a marriage, but like all of a sudden they found out that like their spouse just wasn't in love with them anymore and was like, I'm out of here, and didn't even go to counseling. That's how it feels. Like they were just like, I'm out, peace. And now they're like, I don't want to wish them ill will because I knew that the marriage wasn't good anymore, but I still hate you. And I don't really know why. And I don't want you to be happy in whatever you do after you leave me. That's kind of how I feel it is here.
I mean, I barely watched a snap of football this year, to be honest.
Oh, you didn't know that hiking. It's hard to watch when you're hiking all the time.
Pretty much.
Well, it looks like they moved on pretty well with Cam. I mean, Cam's tearing it up.
I know. Jace, we're going to take on your Chiefs this weekend. It's a big tilt.
Take one on the chins. What you going to do?
I love it.
Look at that trash. Come on, girl.
425 is actually a game I can watch.
To sports, to marriage counseling. This has been a pretty well-rounded show so far.
It really has.
I was about to say, I've never, lost a quarterback that I felt that way about, but I have been divorced, so I know exactly what she's talking about.
So I've lost a quarterback I feel that way about in Brett Favre, but I've never been married. So there you go.
So JD, we're getting close on time, and I mean, I feel like you've got to
I'm
ask.
getting close to my bedtime because like 9 o'clock.
Don't do this to yourself. Do not do this.
No, but look, how she answers this question is going to determine whether or not I think she's the best guest we've ever had.
Oh God, Trenni, no.
I've had so much. I've had so much fun tonight, and so ask it, Jay. You got to ask her.
Listen,
Oh, no.
this is as close as we get to set up questions right here. I mean, it's kind of tough now. So listen, Jimmy and I have an ongoing conflict because, and Eric is kind of Team Jimmy on this one. But I feel like Brad's Team JD on this one, right, Brad?
That's right.
That's right.
And he's my brother-in-law. I don't have a bunch of junk, but go ahead. Anyway.
So the TV's on. We only got one TV in the house, one remote. You run the channel. On one channel is The Little Mermaid, which is pretty good. On the other channel is Aladdin, which is amazing. So which one you watching?
I mean, I clearly know which one you lean towards. Unfortunately, I think I'm a Little Mermaid person.
Oh my gosh.
Best guest we've had right there.
Oh, so bad. So
Under
bad.
the sea.
Right.
No.
Right.
You gotta-
Sebastian
The
Flounder. What are you-
World is like a lovely song, but like I don't know. There's something about like I think it's because I love water so much. Well, that's why.
Well, I like redheads, but water's good too.
Thanks, Jimmy Dunn.
Yes, well, of course, Eric. You know, that's why you're one of my favorite people.
Right.
I think Jafar is the best Disney character, Disney villain.
I mean, they're both wonderful movies, but I definitely like Little Mermaid when I was a kid was on repeat.
Yeah. I mean, Little Mermaid. There's nothing wrong with Little Mermaid, but
You also, I mean, you steered me though. Like you led me.
You
on
really
that.
did.
You asked the question, you led me.
well, yeah, no, I thought you might take the bait a little bit. He was like, "Yeah, I know what you
Nope,
want."
didn't take the bait when guys called my room on the road, and I wasn't taking the bait there.
So, Trenni, the last question I want to ask before we wrap things up and let you get out of here is we have a lot of viewers that are young women that may be interested in in a sports career or just TV in general. Is there anything that you could tell the young ladies about your experience or what they could expect, or just some advice that you could give them?
I mean, I think the best advice I have for like young women who want to be in media is don't abandon who you are. I think a lot of young women, especially in sports, try to be who they think executives or the audience want them to be, whether that's, maybe not voicing their opinion or pretending they like something when they don't like it just to kind of fit in and get along, or feeling like, okay, I really do. I'm like, I usually like to wear jeans and a t-shirt, but now I'm going to get like super dressed up and get extensions in my hair and do all these things to make people like me. Like, stay true to who you are. And if you already love to get super dressed up and that's how you were before, you were always wearing like cute dresses and heels, wear cute dresses and heels. If you're always an opinionated person, be opinionated. If you're quiet, a little more like on that side, be that way. Because you can't be good. I don't think you can be a really, truly good broadcaster and have longevity if you don't have authenticity. Like, don't fake it. Don't fake it till you got to fake it till you make it a little bit like on air. But if you are who you are, I think people will like that a lot more than like what you think that they want.
Yeah. So, Trenni, we really appreciate you coming on.
Thanks for having me, guys. This was fun.
And do
Thanks,
you have
Trenni. Thanks so much.
Do you have any social media you want people to follow on?
Yeah, I mean, you can always follow me on Twitter, which is super easy at Trenni, Trenni. And then I'm also on Instagram. Warning, tons of like running and hiking stuff because those are two of my jams. Which is just at Trenni NBCS. So my first name plus NBCS for sports.
Cool. All right, guys, we appreciate everybody joining us. Of course, we'll be back on Sunday for the regular show. JD and I will be chopping up this debate and going round and round on it, I imagine, a little bit. Yeah, for sure. Yeah. But anyway, guys, of course, you can find us on iTunes, Amazon, Spotify, Podbean's where the podcast launches from. Of course, Eric's always handling all our social media, doing a great job there. And Eric, thank you for hooking us up with Trenni tonight. This has been a lot of fun. So guys, as we always end our show, from myself, from JD, from Brad, from Eric, and tonight, Trenni. No matter how bad your week's been, no matter how bad your day's going, if you just add bourbon, it always gets a little bit better. Talk to you guys on Sunday.